We got a quick.
Yes.
Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to call the Economic Development Commission hybrid meeting to order. We do have a quorum, so we can proceed. Ashley, you're doing minutes, correct? Can you take the roll, please? And then we'll roll into public comment. We will accept public comment from in-person attendees. Remote attendees may submit written comments to the Community Development Department, and they'll be provided to you at that point, but we do not accept public comment from remote attendees. So do we have anybody here that would like to do some public comment? Nicole.
Good morning. I would just like to give an update of what I'm able to say right now about the fire that occurred on Sunday morning. So on Sunday morning, the building that houses 3 businesses, Snoqualmie Ice Cream, Littlest Wishes Photography Studio was on the backside on the 2nd floor, and Chickadee Bake Shop and Snoqualmie Pie Company were on the bottom floor on the backside on Falls Avenue. So I've learned yesterday, interestingly too, that the front of the building, the ice cream portion, is a historic landmark. The back of the building was an addition, probably in the 1970s. The businesses are still, the landlord are still waiting for the final report from the investigator and the insurance. So right now we're just kind of in a holding zone as far as what's going to happen with the building. The city has committed to those involved that we will do whatever we can to expedite the process and get a demolition permit and get that all taken care of. There's also a concern for the other businesses downtown, and we've had some great news coverage, but it's one of those things where there's a fire. We don't want to be misconstrued that it's like Lahaina and that, it's all devastated. And so we want to ensure that downtown is still open for business. On Sunday, myself and Kelly Coughlin from the chamber were already working with the businesses that were affected to find them locations. And all 3 of the affected businesses are in talks with other landlords to find homes. And I'm very happy to say that those appear to all still be in downtown Snoqualmie, which is really amazing. The Snoqualmie Ice Cream is looking at a couple of different options, and I've assured them that we will do whatever we can do to help that process. And if it means that we work along with Councilmember Perry to expedite things through the health department, we'll do anything that we can to help them. So those things began at 10 o'clock on Sunday morning already. The downtown merchants, I met with some key members of the merchants group and business owners on Monday afternoon. How can we support them? So we'll be doing more to come, but the beginning of May, we'll be doing an event that is kind of in the tone of spring open house, like everybody's open, and then doing an item that perhaps all the businesses can sell, even some of the Ridge merchants that can sell, and those proceeds would go to the affected businesses. The businesses downtown, it's been kind of a quiet winter and early spring. And so the affected businesses don't want to impact the other businesses by having them do events and essentially taking money out of their till, or offering deep discounts on something and then giving that money. So if we can come up with something that can be sold to everybody else, then that's the support that we can give. By noon on Sunday, the chamber had set up a GoFundMe, which I haven't looked at it in the last day or so, but it's 40,000, I believe. I think it's going to be shut off at 50,000, and then that money will be dispersed between those affected. So I think that's the update. Nobody was hurt. There's been a lot of public support for the police officer that smelled the smoke and got the call in. And I think that his efforts saved it from a lot of other businesses being affected. And also the fact that that the fire took place in the back on a building that jetted out, allowed the fire departments to handle the fire. Had it been in the front, we might be having a different conversation about the effects of downtown. So, yeah,
Ask a question.
absolutely.
Do we know if there was sprinklers in the building? Because I know a lot of older builders don't have sprinklers.
Are you aware, Mike? I don't know that.
No,
that
a
question.
building of that age would not have sprinkler.
So one of the things that I've seen in other communities is looking at CDBG dollars to install sprinklers in these older buildings. So I don't, like just a little nugget or a little thing to maybe look at in the future too might be something we could do.
We are looking at many different things.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay,
so we don't have anything nailed down yet. We're looking at many different things.
great. And then I could see a really cool, I Heart Snoqualmie campaign or something that people could buy hats and shirts that could
Yeah, that's,
benefit this, and it could be reenacted. Hopefully, God forbid, anything else happens in the future, but it could be something that could be.
you're in there. That's kind of where we're going. I did notice that Provocatrix is a business downtown. She is selling a shirt. I can't remember the words now, but in support of it. And it is worth noting that downtown Snoqualmie has many predominantly women-owned businesses. And that building was all women-owned businesses, and the landlord is a woman. And so it's just kind of an interesting but cool dynamic. So
Cool. Great job. Thanks.
All right. We'll move on to agenda approval. Does the commission like the
Motion to
agenda as it
approve.
stands have any changes they want to suggest?
A second.
All those in favor?
Okay.
Thank you. Liaison minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I move to approve the minutes. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Liaison reports. Does the liaison have a report? You might have to turn the mic on. Oh, it should be on.
Is it on?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, awesome. Good morning. I'm Rob Watton from the Snoqualmie City Council. And just a quick update. Last month, I reported that we just completed the Snoqualmie Valley Economic Alliance with the 4 cities in the tribe. That's Carnation, Duval, North Bend, and Snoqualmie, and then Snoqualmie Tribe. And we are in the process of securing funding from the Department of Commerce for a grant writing event. So we're looking at a couple different grants to apply for and have an amazing group ready to go. And we should have word this week that they can start that work. So one of the things that I'm going to encourage all the cities to do, the city partners, is to think of a town square concept so that we can develop that all along 202, 203 between the 4 cities. Place for art, place for farmers markets, places where people can gather, music events. And so our community development director, Emily Arteche, has one idea in mind. And so for downtown, which is kind of appropriate, I think, and we're going to encourage others. And I'll pass along to you as well a link that you can see from a national effort that's might give you some inspiration. Just keep in mind that it's not for discussion back and forth in email, just to limit it to this forum here. But I think that it'll be helpful in our grant writing, and we're going to try to target dollars to help those efforts. So thank you much.
Councilmember Watton, what's the timing on the grant funding submittal?
The grant, well, the first phase is hiring the grant writers. The second phase is they will be writing the grants over the next 60 days and submitting those. So it's a pretty fast turnaround.
And would that be one big center or individual centers along?
individual
Oh, okay.
sectors, each city
Got it.
having a piece of that. And then if you remember back a number of years ago, there was this thing called Savor Snoqualmie Valley.
Mhm.
It was started by Mountains to Sound Greenway. They didn't want to hold on to that. And so there's discussions of taking on that as kind of one of the pieces, and include maps and included farms along the valley.
I have a question. Are you gonna put a RFP, excuse me, an RFP out for the grants? Or how are you going to, the grant writers? Do you know?
Okay, so that's being handled through our ADO grant
Seattle
writer.
Chamber? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
through the Seattle Chamber. That's Vaughn Taylor, and
Yeah.
he's identified the grant writers will be using for that process.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah,
Because I know some good ones too, so maybe I'll tap
okay,
Vaughn and put
excellent.
them in the loop.
And this is only the first phase. My understanding is that we can come back for more funding from the state.
Yeah, if you have names, please forward them on to me. I can help. I know Taylor
Okay, great, perfect.
or Vaughn
I got a
Taylor.
really good one.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's still doing it. Yeah.
Councilmember Warner, are we able to tug just a little bit on this concept of, what did you called it a center, a location for arts or farmers markets? And would it be rotating from city to city or,
Yeah, that's kind of interesting because there are a number of farmers markets through the valley, but there's not been a coordinated effort. And this would be more of a coordinated effort, not getting in the way of those markets, but helping them to be more successful. For instance, if you're doing leather work or candle making, we don't want you all in one place. It would be better to spread you out, whatever it might be. So that's one of the ideas behind it. So we've got the perfect place downtown, it's Railroad Park, and it may need a little bit more TLC.
Mhm.
The other thing too is that we're aiming to have a coordinator that would handle these, so it's not more of Nicole Weeby's time because she's got a lot on her plate, and so that's the other intent, and it's all being coordinated through the Snow Valley Innovation Center, our 501c3, and alongside the Snow Valley Chamber of Commerce. And the other thing too, by the way, if you ever want to check out a great resource, it's called evergreenbizlink.com. And we are in the process of being added to that as a resource for entrepreneurs. So bring your ideas forward, and I certainly appreciate you each serving in this capacity on the EDC. Anything else?
no, that's exciting.
Back to you.
Thank you, sir. Special orders, the Economic Development Commission Chair request for former chair request for Snoqualmie Municipal Code amendments. I'm not requesting. Andrew's gonna take this one.
Good morning. My name's Andrew, and as Mike affectionately, hopefully, referred to me, I am your internet planner. I'm a land use planning consultant helping out Emily and Ashley process this and other amendments to the municipal code. So you might remember that the Economic Development Commission forwarded a letter to the Community Development Council Committee regarding retail uses in downtown Snoqualmie. This is kind of happening in parallel to an effort on Snoqualmie Ridge to modify the types and amounts of retail uses that are allowed along Center Boulevard. And the contents of that letter, the letter to the committee, were regarding the percent of storefronts on Railroad Avenue occupied by retail uses and the time allowance for good faith efforts to lease those premises to retail uses. So the letter had recommended to the council committee that the percent of storefronts, the minimum percent be increased from 70 to 100% of storefronts that is required to be occupied by retail uses, and that the time allowance be increased to 180 days. In February, the council committee remanded the draft amendments back to this commission for further discussion, stating that generally the 100% requirement they believe would be too high for downtown Snoqualmie, suggesting the commission consider a range somewhere between 70 and 100% for retail occupation in downtown Snoqualmie. And further, that the 180-day allowance on good faith efforts to lease the premises is too low of a time allowance to be a true good faith effort. They're also suggesting the definition of retail uses should be reevaluated. So today, based on this feedback from the council committee, staff will prepare a strikeout and underlined version of the proposed recommendation for commission review and for your vote at a future meeting. But this is also an opportunity to discuss any of the feedback from the council committee to kind of guide the implementation of that staff effort.
Can you explain what the 100% rule would mean or look like?
So as recommended by the commission, the 100% rule was a suggestion. Currently, there's a minimum amount of retail that's required to occur in downtown Snoqualmie. The suggestion was that it be raised up to a 100% minimum, meaning that every building in downtown in this business district would be required to be a retail use. If a property went vacant, you would have to wait, a landlord would have to wait X amount of days. In this case, the commission had suggested 180 days before they could get a waiver from the city to lease the building to a non-retail use, something that would be inconsistent with the way retail uses are defined. So the council committee's feedback was that 100% is perhaps too restrictive, and the commission should, their thought is the commission should consider somewhere between 70 and 100%.
Okay, and then what businesses are considered retail? Because I work for the hospital district and we do have a primary care clinic and urgent care on the Ridge.
So those would likely be more considered commercial services. I don't have the definition in front of me, but when you think retail, you're thinking clothing stores, flower shops, where you could purchase.
Restaurants count as retail. It's in.
Yeah, I believe in this case they do.
But-
Emily.
Just a point of clarification. In this instance, we're talking about historic downtown retail district. Yeah. So, Andrew, I think you could maybe just touch on the parallel effort that may be going on, just to help them know that this is a broader effort to address other retail in other areas.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
could just make one comment too. It's first floor only that we would require the retail on the second floor. And there's some businesses that have office space on the second floor, and that's not part of this ratio.
Since I'm new, and you probably already said this at an earlier meeting, I assume the building owner had been interviewed as well.
Are we discussing?
About these percentages and such. I don't know if it's a
We-
single owner, or if it's multiple owners, but I assume you did a little focus group with them.
It's multiple owners, and we have we've had or have tried to have dialogue with all of the landlords downtown to let them know about the ratio. And also the existing businesses, so that we don't have a situation where maybe they're, dropping permits and they're making improvements to a building that we wouldn't be able to approve, but
Mhm.
Do we know
that-
what our current ratio is?
The current ratio that is, I'm not sure what the existing ratio of retail businesses is downtown, but what's currently allowed is the target, I believe, is 75%.
Yeah, no, I was wondering if we know what the existing ratio is.
It's 75%.
So that's what's allowed and that's what we have?
Yes.
Oh,
I think what Emily, yeah, so at the 75% mark is when a non-retail business could come in. So that's just, I guess, also how it's developed over time.
So for example, there's a real estate company that's down there. So would that be considered retail or would they need to?
Well, let's look at this definition here, Ashley, if you wouldn't mind. scrolling.
Also worth noting, it's on Railroad Avenue. It doesn't affect the businesses on the backside on Falls.
Yeah, it's on the front corner.
No, yeah,
Oh, got it. Okay.
yeah, just that there are businesses
just
on the
wondering.
backside, but we don't, that doesn't, it's not in that code right now.
Yeah, we could show you the border. There is a geographic boundary that might be helpful for you to understand.
So you can see there under B1, it's businesses that are engaged to attract the general public to sell tangible goods to consumers for their personal or household use. Entertainment and recreational services that may also be available to customers on the premise. Yeah, so you can see there's general merchandise, apparel, books, art, jewelry, convenience stores, restaurants, as long as they don't have drive-throughs, barber shops, beauty salons, movie theaters, museums and galleries. But for example, types of things that would not be considered retail uses would be professional service businesses such as architecture, landscape, engineering, medicine, any drive-through or beverage service, motor vehicle uses, including sales, fueling, repair, or storage, uses that require outside storage of stock, vehicles, or machinery, and wholesale sales other than those by a business engaged in retail sales. Generally, and this kind of coincides with the point that this requirement would be for ground floor uses. The point is kind of to increase the vitality of the downtown, get people out there walking and going out there with their kids and eating in downtown and things like that. So today, if the commission has any feedback on the council committee's remand to the commission and could provide any guidance regarding the committee's suggestion for a minimum retail use, if they have any input on between 70 and 100%, and then also if there are any suggestions on the minimum amount of time that could constitute a good faith effort to show that you tried to lease it to a retail business. Those are kind of the two things that I think staff is looking for feedback on today.
If we make these changes, what happens to, say, those businesses that are already in place, like she mentioned?
So they would not be forced to leave, but if, for example, say the amount of retail uses dropped below 75% or whatever the threshold ends up being, if that space does go vacant, it could only be leased to a retail business after that, unless 180 days goes by or more, whatever the minimum allowance ends up being. And then you could get a waiver from the city to lease it again to a non-retail use.
Okay, so it's only when there is a vacancy or a change.
Yeah, it's not going to force out any existing businesses.
So as it reads now, if I was the building owner and leasing a space and someone's lease ended and they were leaving, there's two questions I have, I guess. So if that one that doesn't fit in your description wants to renew, they can't, or could they? That's one. And then the second one, well, answer the first one first, then I'll.
Yeah, so they can renew. There's no business that's going to be forced out just because they need to renew their lease or something like that. If that business were to close and the space was to go vacant, say an identical or a very similar business that was different wanted to come in, unless all of these requirements were met, they would not be able to do so, because the point is to facilitate retail uses downtown.
Okay, so now second question, if I'm the building owner and I have someone who just left, I have to
Mm-hmm.
pay for that space for 180 days before I can do the waiver, and then there's the additional time to find a different
Mhm.
client, right?
That's correct. So under this code, you'd be, that 180 days would be the minimum required to demonstrate that you've made a good faith effort to lease it to a retail use.
Well, I don't know, and have you talked to the landowners about that? You said you've been talking about that. I just want to make sure that your property owners are, how they feel about it. Do you have any feedback on that?
The property owners are not aware and are, in my knowledge, that we are reviewing this currently.
But
Go ahead.
you want to go ahead and answer that?
I was going to say there was outreach performed in 2017. It's included in the agenda packet for today as item 3. But again, this was done in 2017. This process has just been ongoing.
And you and community liaison will be,
That's also,
Yeah.
yes, so that's also correct. It's not going to be happening in a vacuum. Nicole and I will be meeting with both downtown business owners and business owners on Snoqualmie Ridge, where a similar effort is also occurring. And we'll be gathering feedback and informing them of this effort during those meetings. And those meetings are scheduled to occur, I think, in May.
Correct, the first couple of weeks of May.
So I'm hearing a lot of the word inform and not allowing them to be part of the conversation, or are you gathering input at all?
These are open agendized public meetings. Anybody can come and speak on any item on the
Oh,
agenda.
I understand that. I know that also business owners are very busy and sometimes they're not paying attention to all the things. I just know economic development is always about partnering the public sector, partnering with the private sector.
these meetings that they're going to be going are not a one-way direction of communication. They are two-way. And the city has been, over the last 2 years, really strengthening the relationship with the Downtown Business Association. For example, we had them come in a few times and meet with us during the comprehensive plan effort. And our next item really dovetails nicely into this discussion further with the concept of a roundtable where we could continue the conversation and more strategically at given points in the calendar year.
All right, and I'm just gonna cap that off, because when you're talking about longer lease rates, what I can see happening is for the building owners to protect themselves for this gap in funding, increasing rent across the board, which then eventually affects the small businesses. So that's one of my concerns. I don't know what that magic number is. And that I could only see coming from the folks that own the building.
Well, just one more comment. So the original recommendation was 100%, and that was based on the EDC serving at the time
Yeah.
of last year,
Yeah.
several of which represented downtown businesses. So
It was more than 180 days. Like, I don't know, you were asking about
Yeah.
comment and feedback, and I don't know what the length of time that they can hold an empty space before it impacts their product. So
Yeah,
We,
so
we have, the downtown merchants have been very active in this discussion. This is not a shock to them. In fact, I would say a good majority of them want to see the ratio changed. And since we are right there, they are very active watching it and watching the few businesses that are vacant. The Ridge, this will be a new topic for the Ridge merchants up there, but it's, the initial stages with them. But I just want you to just to be assured that, especially down here, it's a very active conversation.
okay, because the merchants are not the landowners, though, but they're willing to take an increased rent
Correct.
to have that happen.
And we're fortunate, there are a few of our businesses, a few downtown that do own their businesses.
Oh, great.
Yeah, there is a few of those. So that's a really cool thing. Mhm.
And then if this change takes place, when will it go into effect?
So the timing's not, the timing has not been ironed out completely. It there is like this outreach process that we've discussed, and then on top of that, staff needs to prepare a code amendment and go through the planning commission and the city council to ultimately get that approved. So at the earliest, it would be probably late summer or towards the end of the year.
Okay, and is this like a best practice that's in other areas as well
Yeah, it's
that after?
it's not an uncommon effort for cities like Snoqualmie that have a strong downtown to try and maintain its retail character, because the co-location of those businesses does tend to facilitate success in the area. But I guess I would just say it's not an uncommon thing. I'm not aware if it's been modeled specifically after another city, but this has already been in place for a while now. This is just a modification to the existing standard. So the council has asked this commission to evaluate between 70 and 100%, what's the most appropriate percentage of minimum retail uses. And then their suggestion was that 180 days is too low. So the council's looking for that discussion to occur here, I guess.
I know, I have lots of thoughts, but I know we have like a lot of business recruitment, of course, and then I'm sure you guys are awesome at this, but I also know you're really busy. So so when landlords do have vacant spaces, there might be some ideas if you guys don't already have this going on, but like what kind of businesses we want in the downtown area, that's diversity, so you have a little bit of everything down there, and what the community seems to be going for. Does the city have like geolocation software to find out where people are coming and where they're going to? Do you have that yet?
We have access to that. We haven't purchased it, but and we've been exploring some software, like, I'm not sure if you know Placer
Yeah, I love
AI. Yeah, where
It's handy.
they've been able to provide historical data. For example, the old restaurant, the Woodman, how many visitors stop there a month, and when they stopped coming. It's been phenomenal to kind of see, what kind of visitation loss was associated with that by using that software.
Yeah, the other thing with that software is and similar softwares, I imagine, you can also find out where your residents are going to, leaving town to go get, because they can't find here.
That would be interesting.
And that would be really interesting
Yeah.
as far as, and then you're helping the landlords too, like, hey, we can help make suggestions of
Yeah.
what our community wants.
We haven't used that reverse, thought process. We've also taken data from recent historical events like Twin Peaks events. Where are the people coming? How many times do they revisit the downtown and re-spend or repurchase things, and where are they coming from?
It's great.
Do we have a lot of people that are hoping to be in a retail location in Snoqualmie that we know of? Like, are people just chomping at the bit to get in?
There has been, Kelly from the chamber in particular has her feelers out, and there's different entities that are looking to get into Snoqualmie. It's finding the right space and location. But there's activity. Yeah.
Great. I'm just thinking
I
about.
know
how
I
it's
vaguely
expensive.
answered your question, but
That's
yeah.
all I was looking for.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
no exact numbers here, just curiosity.
All right. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you. So yeah, next steps, staff will prepare a strikeout amendment of this municipal code that we've been discussing, and bring it back to discuss with this commission within, this says March, but probably sometime in May. So thank you.
Thanks.
All right, next item is old business and the business visitation update and strategy. Is that you, Emily?
Yeah, I can start this off maybe with a little bit of help, kind of like that song, a little bit of help from Nicole. Nicole's been more involved with this business visitation in the past and the history. If you look at your staff memo, you can see that there's been several years of attempt to reach out, somewhat with a heavy burden on at the commission level to execute a number of questions. I actually even put the questions in the memo. There were 12. And there was a spreadsheet that's associated with this also in your packet. After a little bit of consideration and further consideration, it seemed like this might be something that should be put back onto the staff and not the individual commission members to execute. And without making it too complicated and throwing away the entire idea, the recommendation here would be to bring back the business visitation at the staff level, but also in a reformatted sense. So staff is proposing that the commission hold roundtables, maybe I see some cheering and some applauding. That
Yes.
makes me smile too. So a way for you to plug yourself into these groups, and they're loosely kind of identified as like the business park, the Ridge, the downtown. We could discuss the intervals, it could be quarterly. Some of them are more timely than others. We've talked about the need to get to know our business park folks and what their needs and desires are, how they would answer these questions. Specifically, how much space do they need, and what is their time frame? And using that information strategically to determine when would we want to move forward with an annexation strategy study to see if we could provide and meet their demands or meet their desires. So that's what this memo is about. I'm going to keep it kind of loose and open to hear some feedback and comments from you folks. I see you guys nodding, so you probably have some information to share as a result of this. Let's start the discussion.
I know you're looking at me. Yay, thank you. I think that's a great idea. It sounds like you're grouping the businesses by location, right? And you talked about the annexation thing. So again, I'm new. Is that the goal of this, or I don't know what the annexation thing was. So can you explain?
Yeah, we have not officially introduced that. We haven't
Okay.
kicked off that project,
Oh, okay.
but it is appearing to be a next likely step for the city, considering we have no more space to, aside from what we've already permitted, like the mill site. And we know that businesses, especially in the business park, are clamoring for more space, and even making statements as far back as 2021, 2022, that if more space isn't provided, they'll seek another location. And we don't want to lose, part of this overall, marketing business plan, economic development is about retention as well as recruitment. And we haven't got into that discussion that's forthcoming about the entire, economic development strategy for the city. So starting off with baby steps, this was one initial effort to kind of rein in this business visitation concept, open up the opportunity for these roundtables, and then confirm, with our business park owners, again, like what are their needs, what's their timing, and then using that to help inform the city council. The city council, by the way, just recently met. A presentation was provided on economic development at their retreat about a week ago. And staff is seeing a head nod that yes, annexation strategy for the business park would be desired, or further information would be desired. So.
Great. Thank you for explaining that to me. And it sounds like you're doing it by location. I would suggest, because economic development is also looking to the future, your landowners or developers, because I know you're looking at the old mill site. So I don't know if that's something that you have relationships with, but I think that would be interesting to see where people are sitting and where they're looking at doing with their properties too.
I think this is a great idea. I reached out and spoke with Earthlight Rocks and Stones on the Ridge in November of last year as part of this work, and then tried to reach out to a business in downtown Snoqualmie and wasn't successful in getting anything set up. And I sort of felt like they maybe felt like I was there for an interrogation. So, and we didn't have any rapport. So, tried to build that, and it just didn't feel super natural. And I'm not sure how much they would be willing to share with me if they really were struggling. So I think this could be a good forum where they have sort of safety in numbers and can be more open with us. And then I was also thinking as the second part of this, potentially we could do an annual or biannual survey where we could also get some like just qualitative versus quantitative data about how they're feeling. And it could be anonymous with an option for them to be contacted if they wish, where they could just be really open if they didn't feel comfortable even sharing in a group. Would anyone else feel like that might be useful?
I think you bring up some very good points, and I've been told by past EDC commissioners that have done this in the 2017, 2018 timeframe, and then 2022 and 23 that oftentimes the business owners can be reluctant to share that information, but they feel more confident sharing it with one of you than an elected official or city staff. So it's kind of nice to be able to target it in both ways. And I know when I have conversations with business owners, it's confidential, right? And sometimes one business owner doesn't want other business owners to know how they're doing.
Right.
So I think I just wanted to make that comment that, yeah, that is, we're aware of that. And I think a survey is an interesting idea. I don't know what we would get, but you, if you don't ask, you don't know.
And then if we had certain questions that we asked every year, we could benchmark and compare how we're doing.
We could bring this up, this design concept up at our first
a great idea.
round
I love
table.
that.
Yeah. We'll have to have some sort of agenda with them.
Mhm.
And it should be kind of standardized.
Mhm.
And you can make the invitation very welcoming, like you're invited to participate. We want to hear from you. We want your business to grow and thrive. And in order to do that, we need information, the good, the bad, the ugly, tell us so we can then make our next steps forward. So I think if y'all tease it up right, I think you'll
The
get
roundtables
participation.
have been used at the council level as an open forum to, allow creative thinking to occur and collaboration. So this would be mimicking that same process. And we've had a lot of success at the council level with this. And they are considered to be, high level executive types of discussions.
I think it's a great idea.
Great. Well, we will come back with a schedule, starting off quarterly. And I think that there's room for adaptation and modification as we kind of put our big toe in the water and test out the temperature. Okay.
All right, our next item of business is new business, and there is none. Our next item of business is items of commissioner interest, and there's none. And then the next item is the upcoming schedule, and that's the work program. Is that something for today, or is that something for an upcoming meeting?
We've been staff has been including this work schedule to keep it on your radar so it doesn't just get lost in space. It is a tracker for us. It's not necessarily a point of discussion for every meeting. It could be. It is also a moving target. I mean, things get put on here and taken off. I mean, when we accomplish something, obviously we don't need to put it on there, but it also gives you a purview of where we're headed. So some of these topics that you've talked about, we know about them and we just can't feed them fast enough to you. So they're on the schedule. So happy to talk about it if you'd like. And certainly if you want to add something or take something off, you could bring that up at this meeting.
All right, prior to adjournment, I just want to remind that this is my second and one more of me chairing the meeting, so you should start to think about who you're gonna elect among yourselves as chair going forward. That will be on the next agenda to do that action, so just a little heads up.
You're not going to be our forever chair.
I'm not gonna be forever chair. The less talking I do, the better it is for all of us.
Yeah.
So with that, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Have a good day.